Chapter 2, Section 2. Today we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to everybody's hearts, and that is taxes. There's lots of different types of taxes out there. You can have income tax, you can have property tax. The government even taxes you when you die. It's called inheritance tax. Actually, they tax your family on the money that you leave for them, but technically it was your money once, so they're still taking it away from you. But taxes are indeed an important thing because they pay for, amongst other things, the desk that you're sitting in at school, the air conditioning in our building, and my salary, which is a very, very important thing. The type of tax that we're going to talk about today is sales tax. The content objective says students will solve multi-step ratio and percent problems involving taxes. The pacing guide says this is going to be a 90-minute lesson, so we're looking at probably 2 solid days presentations to get through it. So buckle up, hold on. It's time to sit back and learn about taxes. A tax is money paid to the government in order to fund certain government-provided services. You know what? That looks like a vocab term. Let's highlight it. That's probably something you want to write down. For example, income tax can be added to the prices of goods at a store. I'm sorry, that was sales tax. We highlighted that too. And then income tax is taken out of a person's paycheck. Let's highlight that one as well. Looks like some really good potential vocab words for your upcoming vocabulary quiz. The amount of money paid in taxes is determined by finding a percent of the total purchase or total income. Now suppose you're out shopping with a friend and sales tax is added to all non-food items in your state. You buy some school supplies and food for lunches. You can determine the total cost of all the items. You have to add up the items in different categories though. Your food stuff, that doesn't get taxed, but the other stuff, it does get taxed. So you have to calculate the tax for the non-food items, then add it all together, and that's part of what we're going to learn about doing today. So our introductory and inquiry question wants to know, how does sales tax change the total cost to purchase an item? To find out, we're going to use a little web sketch pad and explore this problem. Suppose you are buying a shirt at a store, say hello Sharu, and you pay a sales tax. Sales tax is a state or local tax that is added to the cost of an item or service. Some states may tax clothes or computer repair services, while other states have no sales tax at all, like the great state of Florida. I know they don't tax food. I'm not sure about anything. I don't think they have sales tax period over there. Some states allow counties or cities to add the state sales tax. Sales tax is added to the cost of an item or service. Now, we're not going to research sales tax in our location, but I'll tell you, it's about 10%, give or take, depending on what city you're going to in the area. You can figure that for every dollar you spend, you're going to pay an extra dime to the government just for the privilege of buying something. So it looks like we have a shirt here that costs $14.99. Sales tax is going to be a percent equal to $5. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess it's maybe not $5, that's 5%. So the sales tax rate is going to be 5%. So that's a nickel on every dollar you spend. So we just took and put our shirt in our grocery cart, and that meant that we have 75-cent sales tax that is going to be paid. So that $14.99 shirt is now $15.74. What's the total cost? Well, we just said that's going to be 15.74. Whoops, too many numbers there. 0.74. How much sales tax was added? That's going to be 0.75. And what is the tax rate? Well, they already told us that was 5. Check our answers. Everything checks. Now, suppose that you want to buy a television and it costs $799, almost $800, and once again you have a 5% sales tax. Which of the following do you think is going to be good estimate? Well, let's see what our choices are. $750, $805, $840, or $900. Well, stop and consider. Every dollar you spend, you get a nickel added to your amount. Every $100 you spend, you have $5 added to the sales tax. Now here our TV costs almost $800, so what is 8 times 5? That's going to be 45. So with that, I'm going to say that the closest thing to that, I'm sorry, not 45, it's going to be 40. Closest thing to that is going to be $840, and that answer checks. Now we're going to take a look and see how our estimate compared to the actual thing. So let's buy our TV. Boom, TV's there. Sales tax was $39.95, giving us a total cost of $838.95. That's pretty dang close to the $840 that I came up with earlier, isn't it? Now, if you think about the sales tax that you researched, actually I told you about that it's 10% tax where we're at. If you change your rate of the sketchpad to match that, how much do you think it's going to be? So now instead of 5%, we're going to be looking at a 10% tax rate. And from there, we take that same TV. Before we do it, think about it. Let me put the cat down. Let's do a little bit of math. Now, as we talked about before, a 10% tax rate means now, for every $1 you spend, you're going to spend 10 cents in taxes. But we're not spending $1, we're spending $800. Well, if you multiplied 1 times 100, you'd get $100, right? And if you multiplied 10 cents times 100, you'd get $10. So for every $100 you spend, you're going to have $10 in tax. But I'm not spending $100, I'm spending $800 on that new TV. 100 times 8 gives us $800. And if I do it on the left, I have to, that's right, do it on the right. So times 8 over here, that means now we're going to be looking at roughly $80 in taxes. Now we take that $80 in taxes, add it to the $800 that we had before, so $800 plus $80, and when you add those two up, what do you get? $880 is going to be a good estimate for what it's going to cost us. That's an estimate. What's it actually going to end up being? Well, let's go back and put our TV in the shopping cart, and now $878.90, that's pretty close to the $880 I came up with, don't you think? I think so. Now it's time for you to pause the video and do one on your own. Suppose you wanted to buy a car that costs $15,975 with a tax rate of 5%. Which do you think is going to be a good estimate? Keyword there is estimate. Pause the recording and figure out which one of those numbers is going to be the closest to what you're going to end up paying for the car. So to estimate it, what am I going to do? I'm going to start off by changing that $15,975. Let's take that and make that $16,000. I mean, that's pretty dang close, don't you think? And we are at a 5% sales tax rate. 5% means that for every $1 I spend, I'm going to pay a nickel, 0.05 in taxes. That means, like we said before, every $100 we spend, we're now going to pay $5 in taxes. And we're not paying $100, we're paying $16,000. So what do I have to multiply by now? Well, let's just start off with, let's start off with 1,000. I think that'd be easy. To get from 100 to 1,000, I'm going to multiply by 10. Of course, that's going to give me both sides. So now I'll have $1,000, and for every $1,000, how much taxes do I have? 50. But I don't want 1,000, I want 16,000. So now I'm going to take my 1,000, I'm going to multiply it times 16. I'm going to multiply this times 16 as well. That's going to give me $16,000. This is going to be 50 times 16. Well, that'd be 100. If it was 100 times 16, it'd be 1,600. So we're looking at $800 is what you would end up with in tax. So now if we take our estimate, $800 added to $1,600, that is, excuse me, $800 added to $16,000, that's going to give us $16,800, which is pretty dang close, I think, to the $1,700 estimate that they gave us right here. So 17,000, check our answer, and it checks well. But what's going to happen if we change our tax rate to the tax rate that we looked at here? Well, that would end up being 10%. So if we were to take and buy our new car at 10% sales tax, that would mean now all of a sudden we'd have $1,600, in tax, and that would leave $17,572 for the final price. But there's one cool thing about living in Alabama. Tax rate on a new car in Alabama is actually, I think, about 3% when you get out the door. So now at 3%, you only have about $500 tax. So that's actually not such a bad deal. So how does sales tax change the total cost of an item, the total cost to purchase an item? Pause the recording and answer that question. So what does sales tax do? It raises it up. It makes it cost more money for everything we want to buy. Kind of makes me sad. And now we're going to get a proper definition for sales tax. And we've already talked about what a tax is, and they were mentioning another type of tax, hotel tax. We call that a lodging tax down here in Tourist Town, where I think lodging tax ends up being about 20 to 25% that we charge people just to come and use our beaches. How do you think you're getting your fancy school you're sitting in, guys? That's how. Sales tax is a state or local tax that is added to the price of an item or service. That is probably going to be the exact wording of your vocab term for your test, so you probably want to write that down. The total cost to purchase an item is going to be the selling price plus the tax. Tax varies depending on city or state. We already talked about that. Consider the cost of a $10 t-shirt with a sales tax of 7.5%. You can use equivalent ratios and the percentage written as a rate per 100 to determine the amount of the tax. That is what we are fixing to learn how to do. They decided to let T represent tax, how appropriate, and now we're going to work on the problem on a side sheet because I just really don't like all the voodoo stuff they use to show this to you. So we have it set up here where they've got the tax on a $10 shirt is equivalent to 7.5%, which is 7.5 over 100. A percent's a ratio between some number and 100. So, first thing we need to do is ask ourselves, how did they get from 10 to 100? 10 times what number equals 100? Well, that is, of course, going to be 10. So, now we need to take the 7.5, but wait a minute, if we worked it the way they did, that would mean we'd have to be doing T times 10 is going to get us our 7.5. Can you think of a number off the top of your head that's going to equal, you can multiply by 10 to get 7.5? I can't. So instead we're going to do what we call isolating the variable. Remember, the final goal of an equation is to isolate the variable. So 10 is multiplying itself. I'm going to divide by 10 on both sides. Right here I have 10 divided by 10, which is 1, and 1 times t is t. And then to come off to the side and do my grunt work, 7.5 divided by 10, 10 goes into 7 0 times, bring up your 0, or your decimal, 10 goes into 75, 7 times, which is 70, bring down your 5, annex into 0 and bring it down, 10 goes into 50, 5 times, which is 50 with nothing left over. Your answer, your tax, is going to be 75 cents. And that is how they got this 0.75 over 10 right here. Now they took and kind of worked backwards. They said 100 divided by 10 is 10, so divide 7.5 by 10, but I think I like it a little bit better the way I showed my work. How could you find the total cost of the t-shirt, including the tax? All you have to do is add the price of the t-shirt and the 75 cents for the tax. Boom, $10.75 is what you'd pay for everything. That's going to be it for part 1. Come back for part 2 of lesson 2-2, tax, something near and dear to all of our hearts.